right, so we are back in open session. Welcome everyone. Welcome to the Blythe students. We just have a couple of things before we get to you here. First of all, are there any public comments? If there are no public comments, are there any proposed changes to the agenda? Then if not, we move on to the superintendent's report.
All right, and I get to welcome, where is Casimira Gorman? There you are. Welcome Casimira Gorman to share a little bit about Blythe School, and I know you have some people here to share more information with us.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for having us. We're excited today to share with you three students, McCartney Dunn, John Rico, and Zach Rzuski, and they are going to talk to you a little bit about our school goal of communication and how they're helping us as a student body achieve that goal. So if you want to come up to the computer right there. So just a few words in advance. In the beginning of the year, staff and I get together, and like all the staffs throughout the district, we look at various test data and parent survey data, and from that we establish certain goals and areas that we want to enhance and improve for our school, and one of the areas was communication. And so the teachers and I sat down and we listed all different types of ways that we want to enhance and improve our connectivity to the community and ways that we want to be transparent. And when we talked about the fifth graders, I had a conversation with Mrs. Pollock, and there was this obvious, aha of these students are able to have wonderful conversations with their parents about the things that they're doing, and sometimes we just need a vehicle to do that. I know in my home, with like two 13-year-olds and a 10-year-old and 11-year-old, it's, I either get a dissertation or I get the most concise answer possible. So in fifth grade, the students have started to create their own individual web pages, and this is that vehicle or that instrument that can allow some conversation to go on between the child and the parent at the home and spark some really interesting discussion. So I am going to hand it over to the students right now, and I'm going to go up there and assist them as they explain parts of their webpage.
Hi, I am Zach Rzuski of 5th grade Blythe Park School. I began creating my webpage in 4th grade. Now in 5th grade, I'm continuing to add it in order to create a digital portfolio or bulletin board. I will be adding to this website more of my completed work through 5th grade and organizing it by subject. Here are some stories that I wrote in 4th grade. My Leonardo da Vinci biography report. This is my Mr. Grinch report. And my name essay. The name essay, I had to look up my name, see where it came from, what it was listed in different countries, and why I was given that name. This year, Ms. Kelly King came to our classroom to help us learn how to add tabs to our website and embed links in some of the pages. So these are some of the science questions we've been working on. What is air? And what is the Earth's atmosphere? And another one is ELA module, Unit 1, Module A. We've done some theme writings, essays, and we had to write our own story. It's the life of the street dogs, about these three dogs and how they strive to find their families. This one is about Ferdinand the Bull and the theme of Ferdinand. This is the Ugly Duckling and the theme of the Ugly Duckling. And the All About Me is a picture of me, some food I really like. The thing I like most about 5th grade is being the oldest group in the school and having the other students look up to me as a role model. And I think Blythe Park School is the best because even though it's a small school, I like it better than overwhelming school. Here's some stuff I like. And here is us in Mrs. Gorman's office preparing for this webpage project.
That was you learning how to do what?
Add a picture and captions.
Hi, I'm McCartney Dunn, a 5th grader at Blythe Park School. I'm going to show you what I have done on my website with the subject of ELA. We have been reading the book The Night of the Spadefoot Toad in class. While reading, we have been looking at examples of perspective writing. We're learning how authors use perspective writing to change the tone of the book or give the readers more information about the character. We have also practiced our own perspective writing. On my webpage, I've taken examples from the book and rewritten them from a different perspective. I can show these examples to my mom to let her know what I am working on in school. I can also use these examples to help me remember what perspective writing is and how to change perspective while writing. Here is an example from the book where I switched the writing from first person to third person. Here's another example in which I took a diary entry written in third person and changed it to first.
Hi, I'm John Rico, a 5th grader at Blythe Park School. I chose to place the Seesaw URL code on my webpage. We use Seesaw in math to help us practice how we visually and verbally explain our thinking. On my webpage, I can show my parents the different math problems or lessons I'm working on. My webpage, my friends and I can also go on each other's sites to see how we solved each other's math problems. These examples help me when I'm doing my math homework or preparing for a quiz or test. I'm going to show you a video of me solving a problem in 2 different ways. Finding ways to solve a problem helps me understand the better problem and gives me a better idea of what method to prefer.
One pound of chicken costs $3. Jim buys 8 2/3 pounds of chicken. How much does Jim pay for the chicken? My first method was 3 times 8 equals $24 plus $2. I got the $2 from 2/3 of $3 equals $2. Then I added those and got $26. My second method is the box method. The how to do this is I first did 3 times 8 equals 24, then did 3 times 2/3 equals 2. Then I added those and got $26.
Thank you for letting us share our web pages with you. We hope you enjoyed seeing them.
That's great. You guys did a really good job on that. How long did it take you to figure out how to make those web pages and so forth? And was that something you've been learning since for several years, or did 4th grade? And you can use photographs and videos and all. It seems like you can pretty much use everything there. Yeah, that's great. I mean, that's really good.
All the sites have the Google Sheets with that, so anything has to be like requested access or permission. So we open things up for tonight, but it wouldn't be something that anybody could just log on and access that information. So it would be something that could just be shared personally between, students and among the class and with their families.
That's great.
That's great.
Very interesting. Thanks very much, guys.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
You guys did a
Appreciate that.
fantastic job.
Yes, very good. Very good presentation as well. It's not easy to stand up there and talk in front of all these people, but you did a good job in that.
All right.
All right.
So the next part of the superintendent's report, we're sharing all of it tonight. This week is actually identified as Principals Week in the state of Illinois, and so Joel, as our board secretary, is going to share. He's not going to read the proclamation. We have a Principal's Proclamation.
The state of Illinois, recognizing the important role of principals in the education of students, working with parents and teachers to provide those services, and noting that there are many challenges in doing so, proclaims the week of October 15th to the 21st of this year as Principals Week, and Friday, October the 20th as Principals Day in Illinois to recognize principals and the Illinois Principals Association for all they do to help our children learn and succeed. So we thank you.
Casimir just left.
I was just saying, we virtually thank you.
Right. I know, we know principals really have a unique and challenging job, so it's great to have a week to honor all of them, and I will make sure that they know about the proclamation, so thanks, Joel. The other thing I had on the superintendent's report is just a brief update on the community facility engagement forum that we had just this past Monday evening, and I didn't do a final count, it was somewhere between, it was kind of more than 20 and less than 30. We had community members, parents come in and work through an activity with all of us where they really looked at some of the same identified priorities that the board had discussed just a while back. And we had a very sort of scientific method that they would put a red dot on something that they felt was a high priority. They would mark something that they felt was a priority, but not an immediate priority with a star. And if it didn't feel like a priority at all, they left it blank. We also left an opportunity for parents and community members to give us, by writing things on Post-it notes, just kind of other considerations and other ideas that were on people's minds. The board has that information. It's actually posted in the board book for public view also. I think we continue to hear a lot of the same themes, kind of an eagerness and an interest certainly to look at what our plans are at Ames School. Again, a real desire for improving outdoor learning for our students. I know we had some parents from Hollywood expressing an interest in kind of opportunities for Hollywood that could potentially improve the play areas. One of the conversations I heard, we had Rich and Linda kind of facilitated, coordinated, welcomed everybody. I don't know if you have other comments you want to share.
I think it was a great occasion that, at this point, or to this point, we had all just been in committee and engaging student groups and teachers and administrators, but it was also great to round it out to talk to the residents. We had a great group of residents there that were not shy at all about expressing their opinion, and I think it was really good feedback to experience.
Yeah, I agree with that, and hopefully soon, as the the process moves along, we'll be going back to the community with a little more formal exchange about plans and ideas. So this will not be the end of the community engagement by any means.
All right. And then I also just wanted to share that we now are up to 215 responses on the facility survey. So I will get the additional updated responses to the board, but wanted to share that the survey remains open. And I think the last date I saw was, it might have been October 17th, I think. I just looked at it tonight.
Has that gone out onto the village website as well? I know that the meeting on
Yeah.
Monday did.
It has not formally gone out, and that's,
Is that something we could consider?
we could certainly consider it, yeah. Looking at how to, again, get communication out to the community at large continues to be a challenge, so I'm happy to look into that. I know we actually literally posted the physical flyers at, I think, the grocery store and the libraries, and
Dry cleaners.
because we're finding that some of maybe the good old-fashioned way of putting some posters up around town might have been most helpful. But the survey does remain open, and the other thing we talked about is creating a specific tab that's sort of much more visually obvious on the web page, on our District 96 web page, so that it becomes a bit easier to navigate.
Any other questions? All right. Thanks, Martha. I'm glad to see things are moving along with the facilities planning and community input. Next item on our agenda is the approval of the consent agenda. At this point, would the board secretary like to read the consent agenda?
The consent agenda this week consists of minutes of the previous meetings. These are meetings from September 20th, closed session, regular meeting on September 20th, and a second closed session on September 20th, and a closed session on October 4th, and the committee of the whole on October 4th. This agenda also includes the personnel report and the payables pre-list from September 29th and October 18th.
Thanks, Joel. Are there any items that any board member would like to pull off of the consent agenda for further discussion?
I would like to pull off the personnel report.
Okay. Any other items that people would like to pull off?
Yeah, I'd like to pull off the maximum health care services on the pre-payable list.
Okay. Anything else? So at this point, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda with the personnel report pulled off and the maximum health care pulled off of the payables pre-list?
So moved.
Second.
Margie, please call the roll.
Ms. Clyber? Mr. Hunt?
Aye.
Ms. Murphy?
Hi. Mr. Barsadi?
Aye.
Mr. Regan?
Aye.
Mr. Marhold?
Aye.
Mr. Miller?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Thanks, Margie. Joel, you had a question about the personnel report?
No, I have a family member in there, so
Oh. So you didn't want to vote on it?
correct.
He wants to vote separately?
Just vote separately?
he can abstain.
Got it, okay.
Yes.
Right.
Can we, at this point, is there a motion to vote on the personnel report as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Margie, please call the roll, please.
Ms. Murphy?
Aye. Mr. Hunt?
Aye.
Mr. Barsadi?
Aye.
Mr. Marhold?
Abstain?
Ms. Kleiber?
Aye.
Mr. Regan?
Aye.
Mr. Miller?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Thanks, Margie. And then finally, Dave, you had a question or maybe a conflict or something about the maximum? I don't know what you wanted to talk about the maximum.
Yeah, no, I don't have a conflict. I have a question.
Which one are you looking at, Dave? I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
which pre-list?
It's payable pre-list of 1018 on page 5. The total amount that's on this list is just over $5,500, and I actually went through the last year, sort of these prepaid lists, and noticed that we spent almost $110,000 for what appears to be, I guess, DG nurse on a bus and nurse bus services. I'm not sure what these are for. I sort of would like to know a little bit more about that, because that seems to be a lot of money to be spending for. I'm not really sure what it is it's for.
I'm going to ask Pam to comment on that.
We have some students who have significant medical and seizure
Okay.
disorders who require clinical nursing due to
these are not students who are even educated within the district being temporary facilities due to their needs.
Okay.
And nursing is quite expensive. We try
Right.
to look at services at the most reasonable cost that we can find.
So, I mean, I guess my question is, are these nurses, so they come from another facility, they have, so they attend to these, they offer medical care during
Yes.
transit? I guess, has there been a discussion or thought of possibly bringing this in-house because, to do that? Because if we're only using them, it seems like on average maybe about twice a month, and I'm not sure what, I mean, is it for field trips? Is it for
No,
this
this is daily.
Okay, so I just see the dates.
Transported to school because they are not attending school within the district. They're being transported to private schools.
Okay, so when it says 9:15 and then 9:21, it doesn't, that's not,
It's
that's,
weekending 9:15, weekending.
got it, okay, I didn't know that was for a special, I see, okay.
So Pam, you're saying that the nurse would accompany the student
Yes.
on their whatever transportation method they use to go to school, and that's, are they then attend to the student all day long? Is that how it works?
Yes, but sometimes it's broken out to transportation because that can be addressed to the transportation fund, and then there's services from the school because there's more reimbursement when it's a transportation.
Okay.
So they ride the bus to and from school, and then they also may be the same nurse that accompanies the child throughout
Yes,
the school.
during the day.
Got it. So it's just not, as the way I was reading it was for like one-time field trip.
No.
No, because that makes a little bit more sense.
Yeah,
Then
it's
it's not as expensive as I was.
I was reading it the same way
Yeah.
David was.
And the students also attend summer programming. so-
Right, yeah. Okay. No, thank you for the clarification.
Any other questions about that? If not, then is there a motion to approve this item in the payables pre-list?
So moved.
Second.
Marcia, please call the roll.
Mr. Marhold?
Aye.
Mr. Regan?
Aye.
Mr. Hunt?
Aye.
Ms. Murphy?
Aye.
Ms. Kleiber?
Aye.
Mr. Barsadi?
Aye.
Mr. Miller?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thanks, Margie. Next item on the agenda is the Riverside Educational Council. Do we have any comments? No comments. We next move on to board member comments. This is an opportunity for board members to discuss any activities they might have participated in or things they've seen in the schools. Anyone have anything they'd like to talk about?
I think I just want to add one more comment that I didn't mention about the town hall meeting we did on Monday, and that was the group of community members that were there was actually a really round group. It wasn't just parents of kids in the district, as you might guess, but I actually met a few people. One was a community member that actually just didn't have kids and lived in the community and was just curious, and another one was I'm guessing they were retirees in the community. So it was really good engagement, and it was unfortunate that we couldn't have all experienced that at the same time. It wasn't structured that way, but it was good engagement that I was actually pleasantly surprised about.
That's good to hear. Good to hear. Any other board member comments?
Wasn't a District 96 event, it was actually for the high school, but I think it was in conjunction with District 96, when we had the band evening for families the other evening. I think District 96 participated, Mr. Meyer, Mr. Colombo were there, as well as many District 96 band students participated. I happened to have one each in high school and junior high, and it was a great evening and great event. I'm glad that we participated in that.
Very nice. Anything else? Any other? If not, then move on to committee reports. First up is Policy Committee. Dan, do you have any report?
I have no updates at this time.
Okay. Next is Finance Committee. Rich, you have anything?
No report.
It's simple. Sherry, anything to report in education?
Just that we had at the prior meeting a tech report from the tech department. We had an advanced learning update and an overview of the topics for the committee of the whole meetings to kind of let people know what we're going to be talking about through the year. So.
Thanks, Sherry. Next item, we move on to old business. First item in old business is the Blythe Park roof. We have an outstanding memorandum of understanding, and I know that there might be some questions about it because we talked about it last time, so rather than reading the motion, maybe we can have a discussion about whether we are comfortable with this particular agreement or not. So at this point, open the floor to any comments or questions about the agreement.
I'd like to hear from those, I think it was Joel, or who had concerns. How do you feel
I appreciate the fact that we did talk to the architect and the fee was reduced a little bit. I also noted that I would like to, it would be a good idea if there was a not to exceed element added to this compensation, because right now it's open-ended in terms of the fee that the architect could get if it's based on the bid for the roof replacement. And that would be fairly typical in a professional services agreement.
How would this, in your experience, how would this kind of agreement typically be structured in a commercial setting?
This would be, typically the whole services agreement would be a fixed fee, i.e. the architect would estimate the number of hours expected, the scope of effort to be done, and then would have a fee that goes with that. And that's what would typically be done with another public entity. The way this is structured right now, it's just a percentage of the construction. Percentage of construction is usually done as a way to get a ballpark figure for what the fee should be. I think we can leave it as a percentage, but there should be a top end associated with this, because the architect does know or can predict the work effort necessary to do the work. And the level of effort, the work necessary for the architect is not really dependent on the bill from the contractor to do the actual roof replacement.
I would agree with Joel on that. I'm really not comfortable with this without a cap. It's just, there's really no incentive here. I mean, I know it says the lowest competitive bid, but I'm just not comfortable with them sort of leaving it open-ended just as based on a percentage. I mean,
Any thoughts, Darren?
Well, hearing what was said, I'm wondering, is there a way to better align our interests with the architect in terms of driving to that most competitive bid, as opposed to, I agree the way it's written now, it's an incentive to drive things up as opposed to go anywhere other than down.
Linda, any comments on that? No. Rich?
It's my turn.
Yeah.
This is an interesting position that we're in right now, because this is really the beginning of a relationship with an architect that we've selected out of several interviews, and we're on the cusp of embarking on a much bigger project with the same architect. However, I look at this project as a fairly, in my mind, I could be oversimplifying it, but it's a fairly simple replacement project. Are there smaller architectural elements required to this project? Yes. There are going to be new certifications required for insulation on this thing. It's a landmark building, so there's going to be landmark meetings that the architect is going to have to represent the district on this just to get the permit for the project. I look at this from the perspective that Joel just laid out, and that at this point these should be known quantities, and they should be tagged with a not to exceed. That's really the way I'd like to see it go.
Are you thinking like time and materials with a not to exceed kind of structure?
I'm just talking about it from the architect's perspective.
But I'm saying
right?
the architects, are you guys proposing a time and materials with a cap? Is that, just so I understand what you're saying?
I feel like the way this could be approached now is that the amount of hours required to see this, to shepherd this project through from beginning to end, should be able to be estimated. Mm-hmm. And that can even be padded to a small extent for unknowns, right? For revealed conditions. But that still, in my mind, should be a known quantity.
So that would give us the cap, and then are you thinking that we would say, bill us by the work you actually do, but we're not going to go above whatever number we come up with, unless there's some good reason you find out there's termites or something or whatever.
I feel.
That's
I guess the way
but
I'm sort of looking at this, I'm not comfortable that I mean, I don't know to the industry because I'm not an instructor.
Right.
I'm not comfortable with the percentage.
Right.
I mean, I think it should be times and materials. But if that's how it is, they're definitely. But regardless if it's time and materials or percentage, there needs to be a cap. I'm sorry.
Time and percentage.
Didn't mean to cut you off.
Sherry, any thoughts?
I was-
No, it's okay.
When I read this again, I was expecting that to not to exceed to actually be in there today or, this week, but so I thought that's where we were going with this, so I would like to see that as well. I agree with Joel and Rich.
My thing is also we're embarking on a relationship with this architect, so I would expect that we're working here as partners. That we need to know what we're going to be spending our money on. We need to have an idea of how much it's going to cost us. We can't do it based on cost of construction.
So then what if we said something like, give us an estimate of how much time you think it's going to take, how much time material is going to cost you, put it on there based on when unusual happens, and say this will be the cap. We'd still like it itemized as you go, because maybe it'll be less. And then at the end of the day, if you come up with something that's really unexpected, we can then talk about it. I'm just trying to understand exactly where people are coming from.
That's typically how it would be done, would be what you described, is the architect develops the scope of work, puts effort to that, and then develops a cost. And then if something untoward should happen, then that would be an extra, and the architect notifies Rob and Martha, says we found something. It adds to our effort, and that's a legitimate thing that happens too. I mean you're dealing with an existing facility, unknowns are there.
So it sounds like
but it gives additional control to the fee that the architect is charging.
Right. It seems like there's a fairly strong consensus on the board then that we maybe should revisit the contract with the architect and see if we can get some of these items or some of these a cap and estimates for how much it's going to cost and time and materials sort of approach as opposed to a flat fee. So everyone's going to agree with that? Possible?
I think going with what may have said already is we are building a relationship with the architect. The percentage they're showing is actually fair, but a cap or a not to exceeds limits our exposure as well.
So Joel, if I'm hearing you right, you're talking about them rather than a time and materials, we should bill it as a percentage, but with the cap.
Right.
We could, and that would be a legitimate way to proceed.
What's better, is a percentage with a cap or time and materials with a cap? I mean, the advantage of time and materials, in my view, is you can see how much time they actually spent, which I don't have a good sense for. Maybe we probably have a very good sense for. I have no sense for that.
We're looking at this structure right now because the architect wants the structure. Okay, they want to remain with the percentage because Rob has gone back on this, and Martha probably has too, and had this conversation on our behalf. So this is the movement that they received on it. So at this point, we probably have to, unless we send it all back again, we probably have to stick with the percentage to continue with this structure. We could get by it, and I'd have a comfort level with it if we just attach a cap to it. I am curious about, like you mentioned, I'm curious about the hours involved in a project like this.
Right.
Because maybe I'm thinking of it wrong, but I just don't think they're that extensive.
I can't.
It's very
I can't
vague
see
to
it.
me, yeah.
I can't see as many hours as you would have to implicitly get by assuming.
Is the percentage billing though more typical for architecture or architects? I should say.
I investigated this with an architect who I know. Typically, with a public client, you have a fee-based, and not to exceed gets us to that point. The whole idea is it's not an open checkbook.
Right, and it's not incentivizing people the wrong way, as you said, as Dave said. All right, so sounds like we have a consensus then, Martha, is that?
Yeah, I don't know, Rob, if you have other comments. Rob and I have both been in conversations with Carrie. We can certainly go back to her. I'll probably real honestly have her watch this on our video and, give us some feedback specific. I think you've all been very clear about what you're looking for.
Yeah, sometimes in a super small job, people might do time and material looking at it, but generally speaking, when we were doing multi-million-dollar jobs, I percentage of the project cost. And then, generally speaking, it's over $50,000, so it's going to be publicly bid, solely based on, so the district will, and the architect will work together and come up with the lowest qualified bidder, and they'll be fed, maybe there's 5, they'll look at top 2 or 3 lowest bids that they feel are most qualified, they'll vet them, and then they'll make a recommendation for which bidders we should go with, and then we'll be based on percentage on that, so it's in the best interest of the architect to do well by the district and to write the specs that are, if a bidder has questions on specs, they will issue addendums, that all addendums will be sent to all bidders, and so it'll be basically on the lowest price that the district possibly get, hopefully, depending on when you bid. If we bid earlier in the winter, January, February, most likely we'll get better prices than if we wait until March and April, because construction companies are going to want to get all their jobs lined up. So the later we wait, a lot of times the less bidders you have, and the prices are better. So I'm very familiar with increasing percentage of the cost of the project. But you can also look at them and say, if this seems unreasonable, you can always talk to Gary, work things out.
It seems like we've got another meeting, possibly another special meeting in 2 weeks, so maybe the thing to do is have the administration have a few more conversations with the architect and then come back in a few weeks and we can then see where we stand. Okay, sounds good.
Thanks.
Then if there are no other comments on this topic, the next item is the district 2017 tax levy. I don't know if Rob, you wanted to say something about this, maybe on the microphone maybe?
So in the board packet, this time it's a 12-page board packet for the 2017 estimated tax year levy. There are 3 new pages since the last presentation at the October COW. I will talk about those later. Some additions / highlights since the COW meeting are: I eliminated the $3.50 tax rate ceiling on the Ed Fund. Please remember from our previous discussion at the COW that the Cook County Clerk and PMA agree with this interpretation of Senate Bill 1947 or Public Law 105 ILCS 5/17-3.6, and they discussed it at their last presentations. Per my correspondence with Fran, I don't know how to pronounce her last name. Sikowitz. The township assessor, the Riverside Township assessor, I incorporated a 15% increase in the EAV and a $1.5 million increase in new property. Please note that this is a triennial year, and big jumps, either negative or positive, in assessed valuations are the norm. The proposed levy is 3% higher than the 2016 extension. At the COW, I had it at 2.74% higher. Please be advised that the district property tax increase is limited by the tax cap CPI, or 2.1. Therefore, the district will only receive this 2.1% plus new property. The average homeowner's property taxes will go up a maximum of the 2.1 CPI. The proposed, let's see, the first 2 pages of the new packet concern how the district will reduce the levy due to the limitation of the tax cap formula. For further reference, a levy is a request by the school district. An extension converts that request into actual tax bills that are sent to homeowners and businesses. If the request must be pared back due to the formula, the district authorizes the county clerk only to reduce the tax reduce the education fund levy. Please note that last year, the district authorized the county to reduce the transportation fund and the liability fund equally. Further note that PMA also recommends placing excess levy dollars in the ed fund and using that fund for any county clerk reductions due to the formula, which I have done. The final page shows the district levy and request. The final page shows the district levy or request and the actual extension or the amounts due from property taxpayers. Does anyone have any questions?
I do.
Okay.
Just to review, new property you've reduced from 3 million to 1.5. Is that correct? Since
Right.
our last meeting?
Mhm.
Yeah, thank you. After talking with Fran.
Right.
Yeah.
No, I realized that last time
It seemed
was
high,
it was
yeah.
well the last final levy last year it was 3 million, which it ended up being about 1.5 million, and that ended up helping because the estimate of the decline actually ended up. It was a 4.4% estimate in a decline in EAV, and or a 4% decline, and it actually went up 4.4%. So the extra new property in the levy actually, I think, saved the district from perhaps losing any money.
So you don't think that's necessary this time?
Well, it might be. We'll revisit, maybe increase the new property, but
Okay, I
that's
guess I'm
for further
confused about the
discussion.
up and
Yeah,
down, yeah.
yeah. So
All right.
I want to make sure that the district doesn't lose any
Okay.
possible tax levy money. So I'll talk to Rich, and we'll discuss, and then of course with the school board.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
December is the vote, right?
Yes, exactly.
Review
So
December meeting, okay.
let's get more of a feel and stuff. But it seems like, doing a strategic approach, that's what it will be. But
Okay.
you want to make sure you don't underestimate and lose money.
So we're talking about that chart there, the percentage increase over prior year, I guess?
Yes, there's 3% increase over prior year.
Right, and I guess I'm trying to come up with how that's all calculated, because it seems like the final amount most years is less than that tax levy, but then the one year it was more.
We kind of try to go more than what you're actually going to get, because you want to make sure you capture all new property.
Yes.
Because that's the biggest unknown. You never know, and of course you never know what the EAV is going to do. And
The what, I'm sorry?
the equalized assessed value, or how high that's going to go up or go down. It's been very volatile. So, but now that it's a triennial year, looking at the South and Western Cook County, it seems to be everyone seems to be going up around 10 to 20%.
And so for the year 2014, where we asked for 2.2, but then got 4, and that was just strictly because of new construction or new value?
There's a
Go ahead.
Cook County does something with the levy. They tack on 3%. So if you ask for 3%, they give you 6%, and that's the starting point. And that saved us huge in 2014. That really, because otherwise we wouldn't have gotten everything that we wanted. So that's what saved us.
Okay.
So because the property taxes were going down so much that the district was at its maximum capacity on the operating funds. But now this looks like that it's going up, so hopefully that would change that problem. But of course, as we like to say, the cap on the ed fund going away really is very helpful, because last year the district used the transportation fund, knowing that lockbox was coming through. That's where they levied higher. Now going forward, and once the district pays off the transportation fund, unless it changes, the district will be able to levy more in the ed fund. Because isn't that what the school district is here to educate children? So someone got it right.
Yeah.
So.
And you said that ed fund change is immediate. It's not due to be approved. It's done. Right?
It's done.
Yeah.
And the Cook County clerk has verified, and that's how they're interpreting it, and PMA interpreted it.
Great.
So.
Thank you.
Any other questions on the levy here?
Any comments
Rob.
from.
All right.
Thanks, Rob.
Thank you.
Oh, this was great. This is good. Very good. Thank you. Next item, our district goals. We talked about district goals. I think was it the last business meeting or was it the last committee of the whole? I can't remember.
Last meeting. 2 minutes.
2 minutes ago.
Yeah, last
So
regular
we had a few. I think we had a few comments. It looks like Martha has made some changes here, which I don't know if you wanted to talk about that a little
Sure.
bit.
So really just clarified and tightened up some wording around under finance, and we made a shift and change. I know Meryl had talked about that change at the time of the meeting under the Hauser social emotional learning, just to kind of clarify terms. It's kind of hard to read maybe, but there is a bold italic. You can tell where some of the changes are made. Some of them were bulleted and weren't always as clear in terms of just consistency and structure of the wording. So.
I looked at it, and to me it looked good. The changes you made look very good. So I don't have any further comments on the plan itself or the goals itself. Anyone else have any?
No, I agree. I thought the changes under finance were captured what everybody was talking about at that meeting.
Is the procedure that the board is to vote on this?
I think that's right. Yes.
So what's our intent?
I guess we would vote
Future?
if we agree on everything, then we can vote at the next meeting that we have a special meeting or next business meeting.
You would do it November 1,
Yeah.
because I am eager to put them out in like a monthly
I was just gonna say, I don't think we want to prolong our goals much longer.
We are working on them, just so you know. Just so you know. Okay. Thank you.
Any additional comments on the goals or any of the changes were made?
That was better. Yeah, more specific. I appreciate that work.
I
Appreciate the changes.
Yeah, I like seeing the other goals from last year underneath it, to compare, and it was actually fun to see all the progress. So,
Right.
yeah.
So if there are no further comments about the goals, then there's nothing in new business. So is there any public comment at this point? If there's no public comment, then the future meeting dates are November 1st, 2017, Committee of the Whole, and possibly a special meeting at 7 p.m. in the Hollywood School Gym. November 15th is a regular business meeting at 7 p.m. here in Hauser. December 6th, Committee of the Whole at 7 p.m. in Ames. And December 20th, regular business meeting, 7 p.m. in Hauser. So with that, is there anything else that anyone would like to talk about? And then if not, then the meeting is adjourned.